Hello folks, Budbrew.com here on my PLC at tonight, and this is some standard action for you after a pretty long break, but I've piled up quite a few videos for standard and modern for you, so in the coming weeks you won't be left out without good videos. So this is a regular standard event. I'm piloting Blue-White Flash, some own builds against Black-Green Delirium. Not sure who won the die roll, but anyways, I'm mulliganing because I just didn't see enough lands in my starting hand. My hair here looks pretty dreadful. In addition to everything, I was sitting next to a fan and I forgot to tie up the map. Well, anyways, lyrical things aside, so this is considered to be a rough matchup for blue-white, but our builds have some tax in, and this build of blue-white for me was actually a bit tailored for kind of aggressive metagame. I did expect black-green, and I knew that this friend of mine with black-green was coming over for it, so scrying up bottom. I think it was Neverland, and my starting hand already had 3 or 4 lands. So no need for another one for this deck. So going for Port Town tap because, well, there was no need to reveal it, even though a lot of people actually think it's okay to reveal a land here. So now I'm revealing an island for the Port Town so that I can play turn to Spirit, and then there is no more misfortunes with the tapped duels. So his turn was just a Quagmire. So yeah, I was sitting next to a fan, which was kinda chilly, but weird a little bit. So he's turned to a Sylvan Advocate, which we see actually most of black-greens cutting from their lists. And now it's gonna backfire him, but it might have as well been Green Flare. So what I did was just a Reflector Mage bouncing back this Advocate, back to his hand. So now, yeah, Lily killing Selfless, so one of the reasons why actually Lily is a big fan against this deck. But if you're not running Rattle Chains, things are not that ugly, so you have only really one creature that actually dies to Lily, and but yeah, and also one of the reasons why I think after this event, later that weekend, I put an Revolutionary buff into the deck in order to counter Lily on the player on the draw regardless. So Gideon comes in, makes a token, I take down Lily with Reflector Mage. And actually Gideon is one of the best weapons against the Black-Green, even though they do have To the Slaughter and sometimes Ruinous Path, but Path is normally in a sideboard or just a one-off in the main deck, so is To the Slaughter. But if they get some traction with big Green Flare or big Mindwreck Demon, so they can actually smack down Gideon. But I think as one of the best cards in the matchup. While Gisela being pretty good against vehicles decks and in the mirror, it's very vulnerable against Black-Green, for example. So this is why I think it's correct to play Gisela on the sideboard and not in the main deck, actually. Because Black-Green is such a big thing right now. But this was before Black-Green was just spotted everywhere. Well, it was still visible at Providence, I think, in large numbers. So yeah, Kaladesh, Mad, Stasis Snare, so that means I can actually do a lot of cool things, meaning actually 2 damage to my opponent and also killing Liliana. Reflector Mage I think was minus, that's why I didn't attack. So yeah, this is a pretty tough spot. I have a pretty decent board presence, and Abby is still a thing. So yeah, he just played the tap lands and the Sylvan Advo, which is not really gonna do much here on this board. At least with him just in 5 lands. To the right of us you see a couple players having a lot of fun with green-red werewolves against black-green aristocrats that actually can transform into a very mid-range deck. So yeah, I've been lucky that my pairings featured a few interesting matchups, like the ones that you will actually see at the Grand Prix, even though one of them was kind of like wacky and casual, but it was an interesting match at least. So those are coming in the next videos. So this is just round 1, match 1. Just added the Selfless Spirit to the board, so that helps me to protect my guys against, let's say, murder. Lily would be kind of good here, but not insane. So he would need to couple Lily, I don't know, with a grasp or something. So not to take too much damage, so what he does is blocking Gideon with the Advocate and grasping Gideon. Gideon's still not gonna die because, well, the damage from Advocate is preventing, but this way Advocate is still alive, and this way he's not taking extra 5 damage. And I don't know, like, the thing is that if I was him, perhaps I would just take 5 and grasp end of turn, let's say a Reflector Mage or something. So that's probably what I would do, but I don't know exactly his hand here. Yes, I look a little bit like a hobo here. And yes, this was, in that space, probably the best location for this feature matched kind of table for this versus recording. His Liliana met the Spell Queller, and the game is pretty much over at this point. But of course not the match. So he's still on 5 lands, so Advocate is still like really not significant. But of course I shouldn't really attack into it with a token and Reflector still. Oh, and by the way, I have basically, what is it, next turn Abby as a Fang? Because I don't think I have 6 lands yet, so I could have like 6 after I draw this from a clue. Now I have land number 6, so Abby next turn is a Fang. So probably one of the reasons to play Abby in the deck. I'm still not sure how many I want, like at least 1, that's for sure, maybe 2. So there is a chance that I would want 2. Probably still playing 25 lands, because flooding is annoying, but getting mana screwed with this deck is much worse. I mean, you have Copter, but still. Sometimes Copter may not even get to attack, because of things like Hardness Lightning and stuff. Actually, because I have Selfless and he has only 2 mana up and it's not double black, so I feel kind of ballsy to smash with everything here, actually. I think I made an emblem with Gideon here just so that Token and Reflector can actually attack through 2/3 Advocate. So yeah, even if he kills my Gideon on the backswing, I don't really care. Because, well, Delirium decks don't have language anymore. Flame Tendrils is not really a main deck card, even though sometimes it is in the main as a spicy one-off. But yeah. He's just not getting much attraction. He's on the mid-range builds, by the way, if you haven't noticed yet. Though right now I actually favor the aggro version, according to my experience and what I've noticed, but somehow most of the online deck list in Modo or Magic Online and at a lot of events are actually just mid-range Delirium. But I kinda like the aggro version a bit more against vehicles and against flash. So classical shuffling, 15 cuts and of the sideboards, and then taking out 15. I think that day in the flexible slots for main deck I had like 2 Talias and 1 Deep Theme. I only ran like 3 Avacens in here. And because I wasn't expecting a lot of like tire decks, I actually replaced both Fragmentize in my deck with a Current and Fill, just a catch 'em all card, and also put in one Flagship for, you know, some aggro decks as well. They're not heavy on vehicles and stuff. Dismissal is okay in this matchup. Negate is fine in this matchup. Shrevels are good. I think I replaced one Gideon with a Chase, though I was probably incorrect because Gideon is one of the best cards in the matchup. I obviously take out Selfless Spirits. Linvala is not particularly amazing in this matchup. Blessed Alliance is not amazing in this matchup. I probably wouldn't even board in like Immolating Glare against Delirium. So yeah, I'm not sure if I boarded in Chase. Not sure if I brought in Flagship. But I assume I brought in Current and Filled because what was it, 1 or 2 weeks ago, I didn't even really thought of all the mind games and Jedi mind tricks that could happen between white and green decks in terms of natural state and fragmentize. So all that thing going on, because he's supposed to have and bring in natural state against me to kill the copters and stasis snares. So Current and Fill is not that amazing. At the same time, the board's like on like 2 cards like that can actually hit those, and then the ones they draw early probably gonna eat a copter or stasis snare, so Current and Field in the mid game probably gonna do a lot of work. It's just that once you actually let Liliana resolve plus some big threat from them, you're feeling pretty annoyed, because if your draws are not really lining up on curve, then you're falling more and more behind. So Current and Fields, even though vulnerable, allows you to kind of catch up, at least for a few turns, and get back into the game. So that's what I really like about that card. I'm still not sure about it, still not sure about the flagship. The problem with the flagship in blue-white contrast to red-white is that you don't really have that many creatures that right off the gates have free power. So it's kind of hard to crew it up, though we play like Gideons, well, more Gideons than red-white for main deck at least. And then we can always emblem Gideon to make our creatures bigger so that I can crew the flagship. Also, good point to notice is that unlike some other artifacts and enchantments, he can't really natural state the flagship. Same goes for Fragmentize. So it's, I guess, one of the biggest pros of the flagship in such matchups. Because like they can kill it with some spot removal, but you can try to play around that as well. And if they ever tap out, it could be kind of fun. Anyways, Cerebrals are awesome in this matchup. Negate is fine. It's not just Liliana. Countering their spot removal is quite alright, and then sometimes it might be a good tempo swing to counter some of the dig spells from Delirium. that could just slow them down just enough so that your flyers and your reflectors will do a lot of work. Um, and yeah, so do not take out flyers from your deck except for Selfless against Delirium. It's just not correct, pretty much against any version. Because even after Sabbath, you're not really becoming like Blue-White Control, you're becoming more interactive, that's for sure. Well, let's say just more kind of control-ish. And a bit slower too, but you do need to tempo, you do need to close out games before they actually try to grind you out, perhaps before they dig for their Emrakul, things like that. And then another point to notice here is that that day I still had a dismissal in my sideboard, so which I've just brought in for Emrakul and stuff. But I actually tend to nowadays to not run dismissal because you still have just trivials that counter everything and still counter Emrakul. And then a lot of the time, if you have decent board presence, let's say like you counter Emrakul, the trigger still does something, but it's not really helping them to survive all that much. So he went first into Green Vessel, the Vessel of Nescency, into Marsh and Green Flare. That's a pretty solid opener on the play from him. My turn 2 is just a copter off of a plains and an island. And by the way, good advice in the flash deck to run symmetrical basics, because you do have quite a lot of them. You don't want to give extra information against a deck with, you know, Transgress the Mind, at least in the sideboard. So the Grim Flare hits, because, well, I literally have no blockers for it here. But it's not a disaster, plus because of the Vessel in play, I'm not really gonna be able to stop Delirium, unless he just doesn't really hit it that well. So, couple of cards in the bin. I think it's a demon and something else. So, okay, so he's actually gonna crack it on his turn. Probably even before damage? No. Oh yeah, he can't quite do that because, well, actually I feel like he should have maybe cracked it before attacking, so that he maybe get to attack for 4 there. So Reflector Mage, bounces Green Flare, crewed up the Copter, pitched an island, Quagmire, just 3 mana to operate with, so no demon coming up, or no Kaladesh either. Just passes the turn, which is kind of suspicious, but at the same time I can't really complain when my opponent just didn't do anything on his turn, and I have a Shrivel and a bunch of other things in hand. I don't really care. Yeah, crewing up the Copter. Apparently it's gonna actually trigger. Or not. Well, he was thinking. I was waiting. So he attempts a meta. And I have an option to counter that, so that's why I tank here for a little while. But I also have Gideon in hand, which is a pretty big deal, I feel like. Because Gideon on an empty board is pretty sweet. Even though he has Quagmire, but I'm just gonna make a token, so that's out of the gate. If I just counter this murder here, okay, I keep the Copter, but I think casting Gideon this turn actually progresses my board and my situation much better here. because he could have an Ishkana here, but he doesn't. Perhaps the correct play is actually to let, you know, let Copter die and not cast anything so that I can shrivel Ishkana, because he definitely has Delirium. So what he did was actually cast Green Flare into the Slaughter on his turn. I sacrificed the token and the Gideon, of course. Still have Shrivel in hand, and I have a Deep Fiend. Either way I can cast the Inspector Gadget here. Get a clue. Cannot really attack. Now I'm thinking, so Deep Fiend is basically time walking him, and at the same time progresses my board as well, so might as well cast that. And yes, I do wash my hair pretty regularly, but it's just a pretty annoying hair type. Blah blah blah. So Deep Fiend effectively time walked him, and he's just in 2 lands and without double black, which is the biggest concern. I'm cracking a clue here just to, you know, go for the attack, because I'm probably sitting on a shrivel, and then I have an Avacyn in hand, and which I can't really cast here. Going for the beatdowns here, because if he plays something annoying, I can shrivel it. I do like Deep Fiend, but nowadays I have Rebuff Main and Talion Deep Fiend in the sideboard. Because, yeah, I do like Gisela, but, you know, Italian Deep Fiend, there's still action, and still pretty good against Black-Green. Probably better than Gisela even. But yeah, of course, like, when they kill Gisela and you just slam Brune and get it back and get Brizella, you're gonna feel superb, that's for sure. Yeah, I cast Advo, but on 5 lands, with 3 mana up, and that's fine. But I don't have really any good attacks here, really. Even though he's at 11, and I can just attack and Avacyn, but because I can't cast Shrivel as well, I should rather just sit there and wait for some nasty stuff to happen. Not sure what it was. Some free drop. Tracker, I guess. Yeah, because this way he would have like a lot of clues and a lot of ways to draw out of this, so I think it was fine to shrivel this here. Because Grasp cannot kill Deep Fiend, for example. But yeah, now he has 6 lands, which is pretty good for him. So his Advocate is actually live. And he does have a Quagmire, I believe, somewhere there among his lands. Not exactly sure, maybe not. Okay, I have Avacyn in hand, but that's not quite enough. I should rather... well, and he doesn't have good attacks either because of Deep Fiend. It's such a conveniently... made creature for this matchup. Can't really be grasped. Can actually block pretty much everything, well, except for Demon. Okay, he goes for... what is it? The Demon, right. Yeah, can't counter that. That's fine. He mills 4 lands, and he can't be more happy about that, so he's not drawing 4 lands in a row, for example. That's pretty awesome for him. Definitely has Delirium, that's for sure. I guess he's just counting the card types for Emrakul, or something like that. I think I drew a Reflector Mage here, but question is, what do I, you know, cast it on? I don't think this was correct here, or maybe it was, because you can still recast it next turn, and I can end of turn Avacyn, and next turn smash it for 4. And actually I can flip Allison here if I so desire. I can like jump block with something and then try to flip Allison. Guess this is what I'm gonna do. Okay, I decided to actually go safe route, but well, not so safe. I don't think this was correct. Yeah, that wasn't correct. I probably should have waited for him to step, but then if he had grabbed, he would kind of wreck me anyway. So I get to eat the green flare. I take a couple of damage from the other green flare, but I guess that's fine. I still have deep fin, but that's not amazing. He has Advo and I think a Quagmire up for blocks if he wants. So I'm in a very rough shape here. Okay, I have just a land and a spell queller, which is pretty bad. Have to pass the turn. I'm at 17, he's at 11. That is... I'm not sure what was that. Some creature, perhaps? Tracker, maybe? Okay, cast a demon. That's fine, probably. He bans Ishkana. And I think another Ishkana or something. Yeah. That's pretty unfortunate for him, of course he can grasp and, grapple and get it back, and then that would be kinda sad. So Demon was actually pretty good for me here. Him not drawing straight ahead Ishkana is a pretty big deal. So I'm still alive in this game. He attacks with everything. I think it makes maybe more sense to block Advocate, but is Advocate gone? No, Advocate is for 5, so I could have eaten that. Okay, I ate a green flare instead, and then he goes for dead weight on my deep fiend. To try to kill it, but I have a spell queller. So 2 spell quellers are going to the face. He is at 7 now. I still have deep fiend that is pretty good at blocking his stuff, except for the demon. He can, if he actually had a Quagmire here, he could activate it and attack with everything. Okay, I even drew a Stasis Snare for the demon. I feel really dirty here. Figuratively. Yeah, okay, I have a Gideon in there that I guess I'm just gonna crack in for an emblem here. He has just 1 card in hand. So yeah, milling those Ishkanas with the Mandrake Demon was just very, very bad for him. I'm super happy that outside of removals, Delirium doesn't really have like flash creatures and stuff like this. So yeah, he just drew a couple lands and yeah, emblemed it up and spell coolers went for the distance. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe, and more videos are coming up from this regular standard event and moving on as well. There will be some modern action, I believe, as well. So yeah, quite a few constructed videos are coming your way. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch and on social media. And yeah, if you have any advices on how to best build like blue-white flesh right now, hit me in, because I played a PPTQ with it. I'm probably gonna play another PPTQ with it, and yeah, there's so many approaches to the deck that I'm kind of getting a little bit lost. So I would love to hear your experience. So yeah, This is our sideboarding shrivels, of course. I think one chase replaced one Gideon, dismissal, some negates. He boarded in some discard effects, some more removal, took out advos, took out some dig spells, so yeah, some removal. So I boarded in one fumigate. So yeah, actually ended up boarding in the flagship one currenting field. It's kind of tricky, but told you that it's actually not that bad. Yeah, so I actually had two fumigates that day and three spell shrivels. So what I have right now, but I don't really like fumigates in this deck anymore. It's good against random creatures, against random decks, it's random local store events, but that's about it. I'm not sure I agree fully with his sideboarding. Sorry you can't really see it all that clearly, but it's pretty standard straightforward. So goodbye folks, until the next sale. Cheers.